I would like to tell you the story of how I became a Christian at the age of 19 after many years of demonic oppression and even demonic torture. When I was young, I developed a really strong hunger for God, and I wanted to know if He was real. And in my country, when you're 14, you go through a state church ritual, which is called confirmation, where you learn about God and you can make the decision if you want to believe on Him or not. So I went through these classes, and I was very disappointed that I didn't learn enough about God to know Him and believe on Him. And that's when I sort of turned away from the church because I thought they were outdated, old, couldn't teach me anything. In my mind, I thought I had to go to the more updated spiritual movements, like the New Age movement or other movements based on Eastern philosophy and things like that. And so I went to the library and I borrowed a few books on spirituality, modern books. One of them was on occultism, which I didn't know occultism was something evil. But at night I read that book, I read something in it, and I fell asleep. That night I was visited by demonic forces, and that was at the age of 14. And I woke up at night feeling that some beings had entered into my room and tried to pull me out of bed. It was what it felt like, but I learned later that they were actually trying to pull me out of my body. Man is a spirit and we live in a body, and they were trying to pull me out of my body for some reason. It was a very scary experience, and I fell asleep later fighting this experience, but that started years of visitations from these demons trying to pull me out of my body, and sometimes they succeeded, and they were also torturing me. Some of the worst torture methods was that I would trying to fall asleep, and right before I would fall asleep, they would visit me, and I couldn't move my body, and I couldn't open my eyes, couldn't move anything, and they would there was a terrible sound in my ears, like a screeching sound, very loud, and it was like one or two demons were sitting on my head with a device that sounded like a chainsaw, like a thin chainsaw or a saw, wood cutter. And they would try to cut through the middle of my brain. And I could feel that. And I couldn't wake up and I couldn't fall asleep. It was like an in-between state of mind. And so the only thing I could do was to try the hardest I could to move my body. And if I was able to move like a toe or a finger or something, then I would start to wake up and come out of that experience. I was not at sleep, but it was like a trance state where I had no control. And this happened repeatedly for about 5 years. During that time, I had several out-of-body experiences. Sometimes I would wake up in the middle of a dream and know that I was dreaming, and the dream became real, like I was in a real place. And then I would literally wake up outside of my body. At one time, I could see my own body lying in the bed, and I could move to other places. This didn't happen many times, but it had happened sometimes. And one time I was able to wake up so far away from my body, it would have been like a 2-hour drive with a car. And those experiences was not as scary, but the torture and the demonic presence was very, very scary. At that time, I was also meditating during the daytime. I was experimenting and practicing various forms of meditation, trying to enter into a spiritual realm. And it never occurred to me that the experiences I had at night and my spiritual practices during the daytime was connected. Later I found out it actually started the very same day I borrowed that occult book from the library, and I learned that the demonic realm, they are not waiting for you to invite them in. If there is one small opening, they will rush in and start harassing you and start to control you and start to take over your life. Now, the funny thing is that I was always fighting these experiences and I was very afraid of them. I could not sleep with my light off until I was about 19 years old, because my technique for falling asleep would be keeping my light on and holding my eyes open until I suddenly will fall asleep. This way, I would sometimes bypass that state where the demons could enter and harass me. And but still, the experiences still happened regularly for about 5 years. When I was 19, I was desperate for finding a solution, and I entered into the military. And one of the soldiers there, I was staying in the same room, there was like several people in the same room, and we had the beds in the same room. And he was talking about Jesus Christ, and he was a Christian, and I recognized immediately that he had a power around him, an aura, if you like, of something that I did not have and I was desperate for. So about some weeks into the military camp, after many conversations with this person, and I'm sure he prayed for me, I made a decision with him that I would from now on, trust in Jesus Christ, that He is God and He is the life of every human being. And that was just a simple statement I made to him, that I said that I think now I'm going to try to believe Jesus again. And there was an immediate shift in my body, in my experience. I felt lighter. I felt something surge inside me. And the days following and the weeks following, my mental state and my personality changed. I was not a dark person anymore. I wasn't depressed. I was very depressed before, and that all left me. And I actually, even my language changed. It became less dark and less swear words. And I didn't try that to make that happen. It just happened. And one day, one weekend after that, I was stationed at a military camp, and it was a weekend, so everybody had gone home to their families. But it was my turn to stay at the camp and take care of, the phone and the flag and everything that they had to do during the weekend when nobody else was there. And I went to sleep that night, and this one time, after my acceptance of Christ, these demons came back. And I was alone there, and it was like they tried to come through the roof of the room. And I think there were 3 of them, and they looked at me for a little while, and they turned around and never came back, proving to me that what I had received in my life, that new faith, that new presence of God that comes with faith in Jesus Christ, it was a protection against the demonic world. Now, this is 35 years ago, and I have never left God or Christ since then, but I have tried to grow in Christ and try to know Him more. But that was how the demonic realm and the demons, the evil spirits that try to capture people, literally ended up pushing someone to Christ. And so that's why I tell the story, because the demons lost and they always lose. So may God bless you.